BBC Radio.
6 Music.
You are now entering a parallel universe. And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC 6 Music.
Don't mind us. So, we have Prince and the Revolution with Let's Go Crazy, and guess what? Bob Hughes has just landed, and he'd gone crazy. Hello, mate.
Yo, hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thanks, pal. Not bad at all, yeah.
Great to hear it. So, we look at the enemy, 24th of November, 1984, right? And you think, well, it was Prince's year, basically, wasn't it? Purple Rain and everything else.
Big style.
Loads of people in here, including, we've got Jim Thirlwell, you've got Sonic Youth, got Swans, but they choose to put on the cover Charlie Nicholas, the former centre-forward with Arsenal. And I can't work out, I know the enemy did this occasionally, didn't they? Very occasionally they'd put non-music people on there, but there's always some kind of link to music, but I can't find one in the 3 pages that it devotes to Charlie Nicholas.
Okay, and so what's the cut and thrust of the whole piece?
It's just... I think it's really spurious. It's just a vague link to music in the fact that he's a young guy, a bit rebellious, and, bucking the trend. I think that was it. There's nothing else. There's also a guy, he shares the feature with a QPR striker, I can't remember, called Ian Stewart, who's also seen as a kind of the next George Best, if you like.
I mean, the thing is that if you're going to go down that route, which they did every now and then, and the usual example would be Pat Nevin, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
When everybody knows that Pat Nevin loves music,
yeah,
and he's got something to say about it, and he's passionate about it. But for that, it just seems like, I don't know, it's almost like a really cynical, how management can just say, right, I've had an idea, right, put a footballer on the front, we'll get some football fans buying the enemy as well.
Oh, very possibly, but I can see where you're coming from. I mean, he wasn't really famous for long, was he? Apart from the fact he had a very typical kind of Billy the Fish kind of mullet, and he was at Arsenal for a while, but he didn't do brilliantly.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure either.
No, let's leave it. Let's not give him any credibility whatsoever, Bob.
Fair enough. Okay. In the news, Ian McCulloch released his first solo single on the 30th of November. It's the first project by any member of the Bunnymen since their decision to take a year off. It's also radically different from anything he's recorded with the group. The A-side is the standard September song, originally made famous by Walter Houston, and the flip is a rousing version of the traditional Cockles and Mussels. So that's a Kurt Weill song, is it? Not Cockles and Mussels, obviously, but September song.
Right, okay.
Which, Walter Houston, I'm not familiar with that. I know Sinatra's version of that.
Right, okay. I mean, yeah, it's funny that Marc should choose to jump ship and have one of those hiatus things. At least he had the brains not to say we've split up properly and it's hiatus, by the look of it, anyway.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, they haven't said that.
But to come back with 2 cover versions is a bit... odd.
A little bit odd. I wonder if there was a sort of, he was kind of following Bowie's lead in a way, a Kurt Weill, let's cover Kurt Weill, gives you some kind of kudos, maybe.
Right,
I don't know.
Okay.
He did famously say, didn't he, because Killing Moon came out, I think, later this year as well, 84. He said that was the song he wishes Sinatra had sung, because he feels he could have done that justice.
Killing Moon is just one of the greatest tunes ever, isn't it? And in fact, I watched on Twit just the other day, most of The Cutter.
Oh,
and you hear those songs and you just think, they're still as majestic now as they were then.
They are, they're timeless.
Will Sargent, genius.
He is. This week at London Film Festival, Stop Making Sense, the first British screening of Jonathan Demme's film of Talking Heads in concert. While we're at it, they say Talking Heads release a new single on Monday, Girlfriend is Better, from said soundtrack. I mean, it often is seen as a landmark in concert film, isn't it? I mean, I always found like it got less interesting as it went on, because it starts off with just David Byrne coming on with a little tinny cassette recorder doing Psycho Killer, and they gradually build up the amount of people on stage, don't they? And it just turns into a gig by the end of it.
I've never seen it.
Haven't you? I was going to discuss it.
Well, you can discuss it amongst yourselves. But I mean, I'm sure it's groundbreaking and all that, but I've not seen it, mate. Sorry.
No, fine, okay. Well, I didn't really sell it to you either, did I?
Not really, no. I might watch the first 5 minutes now.
Yeah, maybe the first 7. This is the sort of thing the Enemy did brilliantly, especially in the 80s, where they did their own. It's the Enemy's triple tape offer. So they got Raging Spool, which is 22 new all-star contenders. You got people like Go-Betweens, Three Johns, Long Riders, Aztec Camera, Mark Almond, Cabaret Voltaire, Dainties, Neon West, which is all the best of the country stuff,
right?
Like Waylon Jennings, Donny Parton, Jerry Reed, and then Little Imp, which was vintage hot rhythm and blues from New Orleans. A lot of people, you send off for a cassette, how much are they? £2.30. A lot of people sort of their introduction to that kind of music.
Yeah, well, we played John Hyatt, didn't we? Memphis in the Meantime.
That's right, yeah.
Which was on the tape with No Name, which was a country and western one, which was great, actually.
It was, absolutely. Andy Partridge, Fred Deller goes to meet him ahead of his new album, The Big Express. Press says it's the best thing the band have ever done. The new album renews the band's association with things parochial and follows in the track of such essentially English earlier creations like English Settlement and Mumma, which Andy Partridge describes as grass green albums, has a distinctly Kinks-like feel in parts. Subject moves on to Partridge being slightly doubtful at being one of rock's over 30s. He says, it suddenly hit me that I was 30 and I began wondering if I was losing inspiration. Was I just old and daft? I can't write anything unless I'm hidden behind metaphors. Also says he didn't like the last album, Mumma. Said we used 3 producers, Virgin didn't like it, the American label refused to release it, and also it was the kind of thing that it was just getting me down. I didn't want to tour anymore, and it just brought me. There's a great book about Andy Partridge, and I can't remember its title now, but it's Uncomplicated Game, perhaps. But he's talking about this whole period in his life and the fact he got stage fright all of a sudden. He just felt he couldn't go out anymore, and this is why we don't see him live now, sadly.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing, obviously. And the funny thing is, you're mentioning the Kinks there. You think of XTC, and you do think of that horrible phrase, albeit quintessentially English.
Yes.
But the Kinks were as well, and you can kind of draw comparisons with the Kinks as well, can't you?
Can, yeah.
I've never really thought of that.
Well, all that kind of evocation of village greens and the rest of it. On the club scene, Ziggy's at one end of Plymouth's infamous Union Street used to be a strip joint. Now, for one day a week, usually on a Wednesday, this small sweatbox becomes Club Thing, a different form of entertainment. So far, Stockholm Monsters, Section 25, Pink Industry and Mark Riley and the Creepers have all graced the boards at Club Thing. Union Street itself is a drab, shabby shell of old Plymouth where proud buildings once stood. The razzmatazz walls of Ziggy and Club Thing are a stark contrast. Tonight, their distorted reflection may mirror Larry of Section 25, or in the future, maybe a June Bride or a Nightingale. Club Thing is now the only thing in this decrepit street, run by an enterprising and rather brave duo, Andy Dixon and Jeff Barrett, which is interesting. This is the Jeff Barrett, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked about Jeff last night because we had Katie J. Pearson in, and Katie's on Heavenly, and we were talking about what a great guy he is.
Yeah.
So, no, it was a few nights ago.
It was, yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, we did go there. You're quite right. The Creepers did play there, but we went on the misunderstanding that we were strippers.
Oh, Mark.
That was the thing.
Were they upset, the punters?
Well, I think they were relieved.
Jeff, it says, also organises Frantic fanzine, which, as the title suggests, doesn't stay in our hands for too long. Both Club Thing and Frantic are a bright pointer to the musical future of this poorly neglected part of the country's music scene. So this is just before Alan McGee took him on for Creations, isn't it?
Right, okay. Yeah. And I do remember, the thing I remember most about the night was, one, meeting Jeff, because he was a great character, and he stuck in my mind. And when he came through, I was like, that's that guy from Plymouth. And also the fact that I had, I don't smoke wacky backy.
No,
right.
I know you don't. No,
I don't.
You don't.
Because it knocks me out, right? And on one of the very few occasions that I had a toke, I took a toke in the back of the van in Plymouth and woke up in Sale.
That's one way to get home. That's one way to travel.
That's just me letting everybody know what a lightweight I am. But me and it just don't mix. But I mean, as you know, going to sleep in Plymouth and waking up in Sale, that did work, actually.
I was going to say, what was the journey back like? Well, never mind. Gavin Martin talks about singles. You've got Grandmaster Flash. Frankie Goes to Hollywood with the Power of Love. Single of the week goes to Fetus Art Terrorism, Calamity Crush.
It wasn't that long ago we played Descent into the Inferno, which is a tune that he did on the Tube, which is really...
Oh, okay, I do vaguely remember that.
Oh, it was so good. And it was just him and a laptop firing away, or a backing track, but but anyway, Calamity Crush is probably his best known tune, possibly, but here we go. Fetus Art Terrorism and Calamity Crush, and trying to recreate that in a lifestyle, it would have been very difficult, wouldn't it? Like I say, I used to use backing tapes, as I remember anyway. Also a member of the Immaculate Consumptives with Nick Cave and Lydia Lunch and Mark Almond.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking Jim Thirlwell, of course,
Jim Thirlwell, and famously... pardon me, mimed saxophone for Orange Juice on Top of the Pops.
He did, and they got into trouble for that. They weren't invited back.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I think it was a guitar player just messing around as well. It wasn't Jim's fault.
Right, okay.
But, so we're looking at The Enemy here, 24th of November 1984. So that was Single of the Week, reviewed by Gavin Martin. As I say, the Holland Dozier and Holland of Hardcore, he calls him, the manic drilling stabbing sense around of FAT. What a funny, misleading acronym, to be sure. Seldom has there been a record more finely pared to the bone.
The thing is, like OCs a little bit, so OCs have changed the name loads. I mean, they started out as OCS, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then it was the OCs, and then OCs, and now just OCS.
Yeah.
And if you were give them a different category for each of the bands that they've had the different names, in a record store,
Yes, yeah.
they'd be all over the shop.
Yeah.
Now he had like Fetus Art Terrorism, Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel.
Yeah,
and there was
that's
just
right.
loads of different ones, weren't they?
And he was such an influential figure as well. I mean, that's the thing, he's flown under the radar, but like you say, he's in so many bands and made such an impact on a lot of different bands.
Yeah.
For sure. Including these two, actually, because one of the main stories, it might have been on the cover, but it wasn't, Charlie Nicholas, was the fact that there's a new wave of no wave in New York. So first there was Patti Smith, Television and the Ramones, it says. Then New York gave us the Mad Dervish dance of no wave. Now in the age of MTV and its electric sheep, what chance of a third wave? Don Watson takes a trip to the no-go area, returns with the sick tales of the Swans and Sonic Youth. It's a big feature, but essentially, it's these two bands who are taking, and Lydia Lunch as well, that you mentioned before.
Right.
But it starts off with a visit to the Pyramid Club on the edge of Alphabet City, where Jim Thirlwell as Fetus Flesh is playing and riding around on the floor. So he just gets everywhere.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Talks about going to visit the various bands. So Michael Gira at this point lives in a 2-bedroom flat somewhere on the Lower East Side, well built and with short, well-groomed hair. Is it Gira or Gira?
I think it's Gira.
Okay, Gira.
I
Okay.
think.
Gira could be the clean-cut college kid, but for a slight purple tinge around the eyes and a certain intensity in his bloodshot gaze. What in hell are the Swans is a question, and he says honesty, directness, intensity of emotion, a sophisticated sound. It was such like a physical, visceral thing, wasn't it? That's the brilliance of it.
Well, we had Swans live in session,
I remember.
And
Yeah.
I will never forget when Michael's cans came off and he was like, bloody hell, you could tell by the look on his face that he realised just how loud it was. I mean, obviously Swan's been going since the year dot.
Yeah.
I don't know how he could not have been expecting, but it was calamitous. It was amazing. It was one of the great sessions. But I do remember that I'm wearing headphones in the same room as the band. You can normally hear everything through the headphones. It was just superseded by the noise in the room and things moving about like were just rattling and vibrating and walking about, inanimate objects.
Yeah, brilliant. I remember it well, yeah. Thurston Moore, meanwhile, used to describe Sonic Youth as a cross between Black Flag and Throbbing Gristle. Enemies calls it the sound of the Velvet Underground and the Stooges, squeezed and stretched and distorted. Moore himself says it's very strongly music of this time, which reflects our surroundings like a contemporary folk music, which I can see.
Yeah, but I mean, I would agree with the Enemy. I think the influences are more like the Velvet Underground and the Stooges than Throbbing Gristle and the like, personally.
Yeah, okay, I see that. And just briefly, Gary Holton. This is an interview by Danny Kelly. 10 years ago, he fronted the proto-punk heavy metal kids. Now, it says you would have given odds on Gary Holton ending up broke, damaged, or in the clink, possibly all three. Now look at him, new recording deal, cult TV star, hit West End show, and Scandinavia's leading country rock singer. So he teamed up with a guy called Casino Steel, who'd been in The Boys, but probably better known to me only just recently because he was in Hollywood Brats, which is featured in Andrew Matheson's book.
Yeah,
Casino
Sick on
Steel.
You.
That's right, yeah, it's brilliant. So it's been described on a visit to Nashville as the Sex Pistols of country. So it's basically Holton and Casino Steel on piano. In Scandinavia, the records sell faster than anyone since the Beatles, which is ridiculous.
But tragically, the premonition came true because he did die not long later, didn't he? But he was talking about Ovida St. Pat there.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But he left that legacy anyhow. So we're going, aren't we?
Yeah,
with,
this Mortal Coil and Kangaroo.
That's right.
All right, well, thanks to everybody for listening. Much appreciated. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Mark Riley, BBC Six Music.
And shut the door on your way out.